Okay, so you've sent in a ton of stuff about AI this time.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff, I have to say.
It is a hot topic.
It really is. And, as we were going through all of this stuff, it really kind of hit us that we need to get down to like...
The brass tacks.
Exactly. What does AI mean for you, like, today, right now?
Right here, right now.
Forget about the Hollywood version.
The Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. No killer robots.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, but we want to look at, like, what's the actual impact of AI that you are experiencing in your life right now?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point because it's so easy to get caught up in these big ideas of artificial general intelligence and, robots becoming sentient.
Right.
But you're interacting with AI every single day, probably without even realizing it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what's so fascinating about the stuff that you sent, is that it really focuses on how useful AI can be without actually being,
super smart.
Super smart.
Yeah.
Like the way we think of smart.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, if you think about a really basic tool.
A hammer.
A hammer, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't think of a hammer as being intelligent.
No.
But it's super useful for building things.
Very useful.
And that's the kind of AI we're going to be talking about today. And, you've tasked us by sending us all this stuff with really looking at the difference between that smart AI, like that artificial general intelligence, the AGI.
Right.
Versus the useful AI, which is, artificial narrow intelligence.
ANI.
ANI, exactly.
Very different.
Very different.
But both important.
Absolutely. And so that's our mission today, to really try to, highlight the real benefits and clear up some of the misunderstandings around AI.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of misunderstandings.
There are a lot of misunderstandings.
It can be a complicated topic.
Yeah, so let's kind of unpack this. Let's start with, what is this smart AI? What is this AGI that everybody is talking about?
So AGI, artificial general intelligence, that's the kind of AI that you see in the movies a lot. It's the AI that has, human-like intelligence. It can understand, learn, and apply knowledge across a wide range of tasks.
Like Data from Star Trek.
Exactly like Data.
Yeah.
Or, Hal from 2001: Space Odyssey.
Right. So this is an AI that could be like, discussing quantum physics 1 minute and then the next minute.
Writing a symphony.
Exactly.
And the next minute.
And then piloting a spaceship.
Piloting a spaceship, exactly.
So, it sounds really amazing.
It does.
But one of the articles that you sent pointed out that this is still a very theoretical concept.
Very theoretical.
And it really emphasizes how incredibly complex it is to try to replicate the human brain.
Yeah, the human brain is incredibly complex.
It really is.
I mean, we have billions of neurons
Billion.
with trillions of connections between them.
It's a network.
It's a vast network, and we don't even fully understand how it works ourselves.
And we're trying to recreate it.
Exactly. And so to create software that can truly emulate that kind of general cognitive function.
General cognitive function.
It's a monumental challenge.
It's a huge challenge.
Huge challenge.
Yeah. And so that's why the AI that we see in our daily lives is very different.
It is very different.
It's the ANI.
It is.
It's the artificial narrow intelligence. So how is that different from, the data and the halls and all that?
So ANI is much more specialized.
Okay.
It's like a tool that is really good at one specific task.
Okay.
One of the articles used the analogy of a blender.
A blender.
So you have a blender. It's great at making smoothies.
Right.
But you wouldn't use it
To bring vegetables.
chop vegetables or, write an email.
Right.
So ANI is kind of like that. It's very good at what it does, but it's not very versatile.
Okay. So it's not going to be like having a conversation about, the meaning of life.
Right.
While also,
Doing your taxes.
Exactly.
At the same time.
So, and the articles that you sent had all kinds of different examples of ANI that we experience every day, right?
Yeah, we see it everywhere.
Yeah.
So, for example, those spam filters that keep your inbox clean.
I was going to say spam filters.
Yeah, that's ANI.
That's AI.
AI doing its job.
Wow.
And then you have recommendation systems.
Oh, yeah.
Like on Netflix or Amazon.
Yeah, how do they know what I want to watch or what I want to buy?
It's all AI.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And like those virtual assistants.
It's like Siri or Alexa.
It's like magic.
Yeah. They can understand what you're saying and respond in a pretty natural way.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It is.
And then there's stuff that we just take for granted, like the predictive text
Oh, yeah.
on your phone.
And autocorrect.
Autocorrect, saving us from ourselves.
Absolutely.
All the time. And that's AI.
That's AI.
That's wild.
And then OCR, optical character recognition.
What is that?
You know when you take a picture of a document and it converts it into text?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's OCR, and that's powered by AI as well.
Oh, wow. So it's really everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It is. It's kind of wild to think about.
It is, and I think it's important to point out that, all of these things are incredibly useful.
They are.
Even though they're not, sentient or anything,
Right.
they're still making our lives easier and more efficient in so many ways.
It's like we just expect them to work now.
Exactly.
I don't even think about it when I'm like, oh, my inbox is pretty, clear of spam. Oh, thank you, AI, for doing that.
Yeah, but it's there, working behind the scenes.
24/7.
Yeah.
And then, Netflix suggesting a show.
Yeah.
I just think, oh, I guess they know me.
Right.
That's like, no. It's a very complex system.
It is.
Analyzing tons of data.
Tons of data.
It's really quite amazing.
It is.
And, it's interesting how the news and popular culture really focus on
The big AGI stuff.
the AGI.
Singularity.
Yeah, and it can give this impression that AI is already way more advanced than it actually is.
Right.
Which makes us kind of overlook all the value that we're getting right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good point.
From the AI.
We tend to focus on the future and forget about the present.
Right.
And there's so much happening in the present that's really beneficial.
Yeah, and I think one of the articles you sent even talked about how people use the term weak AI
Yeah.
to describe AI,
Yeah.
and that kind of gives the wrong impression.
Yeah, I mean, it's not weak. It's just narrow.
It's narrow.
Yeah, and in fact, in many cases, it can outperform humans.
How?
Well, think about a spam filter, for example.
Okay.
It can process thousands of emails in a second.
Way faster than I
It's
could.
much faster than a human could and with greater accuracy.
Wow.
And then you have things like AI-powered robots in factories.
Okay.
They can work 24/7 without getting tired or making mistakes.
Right.
And they can do things that are too dangerous or difficult for humans to do.
So it's not about being, smarter than a human in some kind of general way.
Exactly.
It's about being better at a specific task.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and I think one of the articles you sent even had this really helpful table
Oh, yeah.
that laid out the key differences.
Between AGI and ANI.
Yeah, like the level of intelligence,
Right.
the ability to learn
Yeah.
where we are currently,
Current status.
examples,
Examples.
the focus of each one,
The focus.
the complexity,
Complex.
and then even ethical considerations.
Ethical considerations are very important.
Very important. So I think that table is really helpful to kind of
Crystallize.
crystallize exactly. AGI is still,
Out there in the future.
in the future.
But ANI is
Yeah.
here and now and solving real problems.
Exactly. So let's look at some of those real problems that ANI is solving.
Okay.
Okay? Because it's all very well to say it's useful.
Right.
But how?
Let's get specific.
Let's get specific.
Let's see the rubber hit the road.
Okay, so let's start with something that I think everybody can relate to. Spam email. So spam filters, how do they actually work?
So spam filters are a great example of ANI learning and adapting over time.
Okay.
So they use algorithms.
What's an algorithm?
An algorithm is basically a set of instructions
Okay.
that a computer follows to perform a task.
Okay.
So in the case of a spam filter, the algorithm is looking for patterns in emails that indicate that they might be spam. So things like, the sender's address the subject line, the content of the email.
So it's looking at all these different things.
Looking at all these different things, and then it compares that to a database of known spam.
Okay.
And if it finds a match,
Spam.
it flags it as spam.
Got it.
But the thing is, spammers are always changing their tactics.
Yeah, they are.
So the spam filters have to constantly learn and adapt.
So it's like an arms race
It is an arms race.
between the AI and the spammers.
Exactly.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so what about those recommendation systems?
Okay.
Because, like Netflix, it's scary how well they know me.
They do seem to know you very well.
How do they know that I want to watch,
Another British baking show.
another British baking show? Exactly.
Yeah, so what they do is they analyze a huge amount of data
Okay.
about your viewing habits.
So, what I've watched before.
What you've watched before, what you've rated, how long you've watched something for.
Oh, wow.
And then they compare that to data from millions of other users.
Really?
Millions of other users.
Yeah.
And they look for patterns.
Okay.
So, for example, if you watch a lot of British baking shows,
Oh.
and other people who watch a lot of British baking shows also watch a lot of gardening shows,
Oh, no.
then the algorithm might recommend a gardening show to you
Okay.
because it's seen that pattern in the data.
Okay.
It's not that the AI understands that you like British things or that you like baking.
Right.
It's just that it's seeing a statistical correlation.
A statistical correlation.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's all about the numbers.
It's all about the numbers.
Okay, and what about those virtual assistants?
Okay.
Because it still feels kind of like magic to me when I can just talk to my phone
Yeah.
and it like understands.
It's pretty impressive.
It is.
And that's thanks to natural language processing.
And natural language processing.
Or NLP.
NLP.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's that?
So NLP is a branch of AI that focuses on enabling computers to understand and process human language.
So like my spoken words.
Exactly. So
Oh.
these virtual assistants are trained on massive amounts of text and speech data,
Wow.
and that allows them to recognize patterns in the way that we speak
Okay.
and to interpret the meaning of what we're saying.
So it's not just like, hearing the sounds.
No.
It's actually like understanding.
It's understanding the meaning.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And then, there's the little things that we just take for granted, like I was saying before, the predictive text,
Oh,
and
yeah.
autocorrect,
Very helpful.
super helpful.
Yeah.
They're not like, flashy, but they save us a lot of time and frustration,
A lot of frustration.
especially me.
Especially you.
So how do they actually work? Like, what's the AI doing there?
So they're using AI to predict what you're most likely to type next
Okay.
based on your past typing history
Okay.
and also on the context of what you're currently typing.
Okay.
So that reduces the number of keystrokes you need to make.
Okay.
And then autocorrect is obviously correcting errors as you type.
Right.
So it's all about making the typing experience smoother and more efficient.
Smoother and more efficient. So
Yeah.
I can get my message across quicker with fewer errors.
Fewer errors.
Fewer embarrassing errors.
Embarrassing errors, yeah. We've all been there.
We've all been there.
With the autocorrect fails.
Autocorrect fails, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's still, generally very helpful.
Generally very helpful.
Yeah. And then there's translation software,
Oh, yeah.
which is like, breaking down barriers
Absolutely.
between people all over the world.
Yeah. It's incredible.
It is.
To think that you can have a conversation with someone
Yeah.
who speaks a completely different language
In real time.
in real time. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
And that's all thanks to AI.
That's AI.
Yeah.
Wow. So we've talked a lot about, how AI is impacting our personal lives.
Right.
But the stuff that you sent also highlighted how it's like really boosting efficiency
Yeah.
in the business world too.
Hugely.
So what are some examples of that?
Okay, so one example is OCR that we talked about earlier.
Okay. The optical character recognition.
Yeah, so businesses can use that to quickly digitize all their paper documents.
Okay. So instead of having someone type everything in,
Exactly.
they could just scan it.
Scan it, and the AI will convert it into text.
That's got to save so much time.
It saves a huge amount of time and money.
Wow.
And then you have AI being used in supply chain management.
Okay.
So companies can use AI to predict demand for products
Okay.
and to optimize their inventory levels.
So they don't have too much stock
Exact.
or too little.
Or too little.
Okay.
And that can save them a lot of money
Right.
and reduce waste.
It's good for the environment too.
Good for the environment, yeah.
Okay.
And then in manufacturing, you have AI-powered robots
Okay.
that can assemble products,
Okay.
inspect them for quality control,
Okay.
and even pack them for shipping.
Wow. So it's like the whole process.
The whole process can be automated.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, we've all heard about self-driving cars.
Yeah.
That's AI too, right?
It's AI.
Wow. It's really incredible to think about how this technology is changing the world.
It is. It's really transforming every industry.
It really is.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about a lot of different examples, but it's important to remember that
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's so much more to come.
So what you're saying is that pretty much every aspect of our lives is going to be impacted
I think so.
by AI in
That
some
way.
in the future. Wow. So we've talked about a lot of really cool stuff,
We have.
but I think it's important to connect this back to our listeners
Yes.
because they're smart people.
Very smart.
They're interested in this stuff
They are.
and they want to know
How it affects them.
how it affects them, right?
Right.
So let's talk about how all of this not so smart AI
Mhm.
is actually saving us time and effort
Okay.
because, we're all busy.
We are all very busy.
We want to get things done
Efficiently.
efficiently.
Yeah.
So how is AI helping us do that?
So one of the key ways is through automation.
Automation.
Yeah. So we talked about things like spam filtering and robots on assembly lines.
Right.
Those are all tasks that used to be done by humans,
Right.
and now they're being done by AI.
And we don't have to think about them,
Exactly.
which frees up our time and energy.
To focus on more important things.
Right. So it's not just about like, saving a few minutes here and there.
Yeah.
It's about like fundamentally changing the way that we work.
Yeah, it's about freeing up human potential.
Freeing up human potential.
To be more creative, to be more strategic, to do the things that AI can't do.
Right. And that's really exciting.
It is exciting.
Okay, so what else, besides automation?
So another key way that AI is saving us time and effort is through its ability to process huge amounts of data,
Oh,
much faster and more efficiently than humans can.
okay.
So, for example, in the business world, AI can be used to analyze customer data,
Okay.
to identify trends and patterns
Okay.
that can help companies improve their products and services,
Okay.
and to target their marketing more effectively.
Right. So it's like having a super-powered research assistant
Exactly.
working for you 24/7.
24/7, never gets tired, never complains.
Never complains. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else?
So another benefit of AI is that it can help to reduce errors.
Reduce errors.
Yeah. So, for example, in healthcare,
Uh-huh.
AI can be used to analyze medical images
Okay.
to help doctors detect diseases earlier and more accurately. Yeah. And in manufacturing, AI can be used to inspect products for defects,
Okay.
which can help to improve quality and safety.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's the convenience factor.
Convenience.
Yeah.
Like, virtual assistants and recommendation systems.
They're always there when you need them.
24/7.
24/7, ready to answer your questions
Or recommend a new show.
or recommend a new show.
Exactly. So I think it's clear that, this not so smart AI
Yeah.
is actually having a huge impact
A huge impact.
on our lives in so many different ways.
Yeah. And I think it's only going to become more impactful in the future.
So it really begs the question then, why is focusing on this practical utility
Right.
like such a smart move
Yeah.
when it comes to developing AI?
It's a great question.
Instead of just chasing
The AGI.
the AGI dream.
Yeah.
So what are some of the advantages of focusing on this practicality?
So one of the big advantages is that it delivers immediate value.
Okay.
We're not waiting for some hypothetical future. We're seeing real benefits right now, today. And it's also generally less complex and resource intensive
Right.
to develop ANI compared to AGI.
Okay, so it's more accessible.
It's more accessible to more people, more organizations.
Okay.
And that means that it can have a wider impact.
So it's not just, big tech companies
Right.
that are benefiting from this. It's
Exactly.
like, small businesses,
Individuals,
researchers everywhere.
everybody can benefit from AI.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
And I think, another advantage that you touched on earlier
Yeah.
is that by focusing on practical applications,
Right.
we can build trust.
Trust is crucial.
It is, because there is a lot of fear
There is a lot of fear
about AI,
and misunderstanding.
misunderstanding.
Yeah.
But when people can see how it's actually helping them
Right.
in their everyday lives,
In concrete ways.
they're more likely to embrace it.
Exactly.
It's about like demystifying AI
Demystifying AI.
and showing that it's not this like, scary thing.
It's a tool.
It's a tool,
Yeah, a powerful tool.
but a tool nonetheless.
Yes.
And I think, another advantage is that by focusing on specific applications,
Right.
we can be more targeted in how we address any ethical concerns.
Yeah, ethical considerations are really important.
AR.
And it's much easier to think about those in the context of a specific application
Right.
rather than trying to come up with some kind of grand ethical framework
For like all of AI.
for all of AI, which is incredibly difficult.
It would be incredibly difficult
Yeah,
and probably impossible.
probably impossible.
So it's much more practical to say, okay, we're using AI for, medical diagnosis.
Right,
What are the ethical considerations there?
exactly.
And how can we address those?
How can we mitigate any potential risks
Right.
and ensure that the technology is being used responsibly?
Responsibly.
Yeah.
And I think, one final advantage of focusing on practical utility is that it allows for a more iterative development process.
Yes.
So we can kind of like, start small,
Start small.
make incremental progress,
Incremental progress.
learn from our mistakes,
Learn from our mistakes.
and gradually build up to more complex and sophisticated applications.
Yeah, it's a much more agile and adaptable approach.
And, while AGI, has this huge potential,
It does.
it also comes with
a lot of unknowns
a lot of unknowns,
and potential risks
potential risks that we can't even imagine yet.
you can't even imagine yet.
Right. So by focusing on A&I,
Yeah.
we can kind of like,
Control the development a little bit better.
Control the development.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's beneficial.
That it's beneficial to
Humanity.
as opposed to
Potentially harmful.
potentially harmful.
Yeah.
Okay, so it really is about taking a pragmatic approach.
A pragmatic approach.
Focusing on what we can do now.
Right.
And in the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Rather than just chasing this dream, this far off dream.
Yeah, of AGI.
Yeah.
Which may or may not ever happen.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
So, we've talked about all these advantages of focusing on practical utility.
Right.
But I think it's also important to address
the myths.
The misconceptions.
The misconceptions about AI.
Yeah. There are a lot of them out there.
There are a lot of them.
And they can be really harmful.
They can be harmful.
Yeah, because they can lead to fear and distrust.
Distrust.
Which can actually hinder the development of beneficial AI.
Right. So let's try to debunk some of these myths.
Okay, let's do it.
What are some of the biggest ones that you've come across?
So one of the biggest myths is that AI is going to become sentient.
Sentient?
Yeah, like conscious.
Okay.
And that it's going to, take over the world.
Like in the movies.
Like in the movies.
Right.
And that's just not realistic.
Not realistic.
At least not with the current state of technology.
Okay, so no Skynet.
No Skynet.
No HAL 9000.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
So.
That.
Okay, so what's another big myth?
Another big myth is that AI is going to replace all human jobs.
Okay, so we're all going to be out of work.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's true that AI will automate some tasks.
Right.
That are currently done by humans.
Right.
But it will also create new jobs.
Okay.
And it will augment human capabilities in many areas.
So it's not about replacement.
It's not about replacement.
It's about
collaboration.
Yeah, working together.
Okay.
So for example, AI could be used to help doctors diagnose diseases.
Right.
But it's not going to replace doctors.
Right.
It's going to give doctors more information.
More tools
to help them make better decisions.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What's another myth?
Another myth is that AI is objective.
Objective?
Yeah. And unbiased.
Unbiased. Okay.
But that's not true either.
Why not?
Because AI is created by humans.
Right.
And humans are biased.
We are.
Yeah. So the data that AI is trained on
can reflect those biases.
So if the data is biased,
yeah,
the AI will be biased.
The AI will be biased.
Okay. So it's really important to be aware of that.
It's incredibly important because if we're not careful,
right,
we could end up creating AI systems
that perpetuate those biases.
And even amplify them.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a really important issue
It is.
that we need to be thinking about.
And that we need to be addressing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's another myth?
Another myth is that AI is some kind of magic black box.
Magic black box.
Yeah.
Okay.
That we don't understand how it works.
Okay.
And that's not entirely true.
Okay.
So it's true that some AI systems are very complex.
Okay.
And it can be difficult to understand exactly how they're making decisions.
Okay.
But there's a growing field of research called explainable AI.
Explainable AI.
Yeah. Which is focused on making AI more transparent.
Okay.
So that we can understand how it works
and
why it's making the decisions it's making.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not magic.
It's not magic.
It's just math.
It's just math.
Yeah, and data.
And data.
And algorithms.
Algorithms.
Yeah.
So it's something that we can understand.
We can understand it.
If we take the time to learn about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've